Hello, welcome to our garden. This is the GreenWorks House and Gardens. When we came here, it was like a blank slate. Nothing except ivy everywhere you looked. And we gradually took a section at a time and got rid of the ivy, turned it into more variety.
We pulled out, I don't know how many cubic yards of ivy, and we put paths in and some walkways and structures. So we have like 3 bridges and stairways in and out for easier access. Actually, there was so much trouble to get in and out, the stairways were absolutely necessary.
We moved here in 2001, and we bought the house and the gardens for its potential. And in the 15 years since, we've done a lot. Fortunately, we have all forms of light. We have full sun to full shade, partial sun, partial shade. So we're really not limited on the kind of perennials that we choose. And we choose virtually exclusively perennials, shrubs and flowers. And we particularly enjoy unusual plants.
Yeah, some examples would be a dogwood, which grows horizontally, gets about 3 feet tall and about 10, 12 feet wide. This past week we found a variegated dogwood. We've got a beautiful orange barberry and lots of other strange things.
When we moved here, we both retired. So that gave us a lot of time to learn about gardening. And for me, it was absolutely learning from the very beginning. I had to learn the difference between an annual and a perennial. Now we still learn as we go, but our gardens look pretty good, so I think we're probably getting pretty good at it.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Bell, and welcome to my garden. I bought this property about 2 years ago, and when I got here it was all grass with a few trees and a few shrubs, but mostly they were on the perimeter, and this fence was here, and everything else was grass. And since then, I've cleared a space for vegetable gardens and perennial and shrub borders. So I'm trying to do this, I am doing it completely organically. I want it to be beautiful. I want to attract pollinators and birds and produce food for myself and food for all my neighbors. And when I have too much, I donate it to food pantries. So that is an extra bonus for the vegetable garden. I've been gardening for most of my life since I was about 20. I just moved down here from an area with too many trees and couldn't do vegetables for quite a long time, so I'm pleased to be able to grow vegetables again.
Good morning. Some of you know my voice because I was on a radio show, the most popular radio show in Western North Carolina for over 12 years, The Wild Gardener. The garden, when we first got here, it was a hosta nursery, a very small hosta nursery, but I found that I thought that a lot of other things beside hostas were interesting. So as a member for, my gosh, almost 50 years of the American Rock Garden Society, they have a seed exchange. And if you're a member, you get to pick 25 packets of seeds that have been collected from all over the world. And they're not just rock garden plants. They're all kinds of oddball perennials and stuff. So I found that it was so much fun in a place where the winters are not as bad, except for 1993, as many people think. And you could start early in the spring, seeds from the Rock Garden Society, and grow perennials and plant them. And of course, they're stuck in all over this garden that we're in today. And the major part of the garden is up the hill, and there's a huge wall that supports the house. And that's a sink trap that attracts heat in the winter because the sun shines on it and warms the stones. So I actually have French Bourbon roses that just finished blooming that are perfectly happy in Paris, but who would think in the mountains of western North Carolina? There are a lot of you who are retired, and if you're at that age and you were growing up in the Second World War, you will remember that everybody had a victory garden. People still grew vegetables, and I started out as a kid. I mean, what are you going to do? Your whole backyard is now growing vegetables for the neighborhood. So I learned how to weed, and it never stopped. Because one of the greatest assets that any garden can have is somebody who's willing to bend over and weed. But that's how I started in gardening, and I've been at it ever since.
I'm Nancy Butler,
I'm Bob Butler.
and welcome to our garden. We moved to Asheville 6 years ago and found a quaint little brown shingle house and a nice sized lot, which was a lot of woods at that time and some stone walls. And we began our gardening career. Several trees fell after we moved in and had some water lines to rebuild, which meant our garden was totally different than what we had anticipated it being.
We actually had three trees fall, big trees. One from the backyard crushed part of the house and crushed part of the waterfall over here, and then 2 trees fell on the upper terrace, within a month of each other, I guess, which required a lot of re-gardening.
We built some stone walls, a patio. So that's pretty much it. It's evolved. The garden has evolved. I've been gardening all my life, pretty much. Love gardening. It's kind of in my genes. Took part in the Master Gardener program in Mississippi, where we had a nice garden. And then we moved to Asheville 6 years ago. Took part in the Master Gardening program here and met wonderful folks and learned about the gardening in Asheville. Bob has been my cohort and gardening. He builds the fences, helps me haul dirt and plants and
A lot of mulch.
a lot of mulch. My gardening has changed since we've moved here. It's evolved as nature has its way with trees falling, different things happening, learning a different climate. The Asheville climate is so different from Mississippi, where I gardened for 40 years. So learning that, I love to experiment and love to layer plants and love the design process of gardening. And Bob is always game to go to the garden center with me and help me haul home the plants. I love to grow most anything. I'm not a big vegetable gardener. We have a few tomato plants, sometimes pepper plants, lettuce. It's mainly native plants, Not a whole lot of flowers. I love textures and grays and whites and colors that way, greens, using greens, more subtle. I love to attract butterflies. I love to bring joy to and have surprises within the garden. So use art and artifacts that we find. We have artist children who are potters, and so have collected their pots and other pots and have them various. And our dogs love to run in the garden. They want to have their say as well. But that's pretty much it. I just love any kind of gardening.
Hi, my name is Katie Adams. I'm with Kenilworth Church and the Living Food Resources Garden. We are a really unique farm-to-table, urban farm-to-table gardening project here in the city of Asheville. We grow food for Loving Foods Resources, which is a food pantry here on the campus of Kenilworth Church. They have been here for 25 years now. And Loving Food Resources serves clients with HIV and AIDS and anyone in home hospice care in all 18 counties in western North Carolina. We love what we do. We're committed to growing food for people that need it. We like to grow it and give it away. And what makes it so unique here is that our gardens, being farm to table, that means that we actually grow at the site of distribution. And in the food pantry world, that is very important in an ideal situation. With the clients that we serve, we're able to pick food at its nutritional peak, which is important for the clients that we serve. We started in 2007 with the gardens that you see here. We have 18 raised beds. And in 2011, we expanded with 800 square feet of in-earth beds. We also grow a variety of berries. We have herbs, a wide variety of vegetables and tomatoes and potatoes. We grow flowers. And a new project this year is we've actually planted edibles in our landscaping. So as you're here for the tour and you're exploring this gorgeous certified wildlife habitat, which is the campus of Kenilworth Church, peek into the garden beds and into the shrubbery. You may find lettuce to sample or tomatoes, blueberries, and feel free to enjoy the wonderful food that we're growing here. This is entirely volunteer-based. We work with community members, youth as part of the church. We have different nonprofit and other for-profit groups that volunteer to grow food, but what is really special to us is that we work with the clients that we serve and grow food for them, foods that they're interested in, foods that they want to try, foods that are packed with nutrition, such as kale, and it's a wonderful program. The garden has changed quite a bit. In 2011, when we expanded, we were able to increase what we were growing substantially, as well as the church actually started growing hops a few years ago. We're the first church in the United States to grow hops for a nonprofit cause. We're very proud of that. We will trade the hops for a donation to Loving Foods Resources. As well as this year, we're expanding with a new program called Loving Gardens, which is where clients for the pantry will actually take home pots, soil, and seed, and will be able to grow food at their homes. We are so grateful to Asheville GreenWorks because what we get to do is to shine a light on Loving Foods Resources and the amazing work that they've been here quietly doing for 25 years in our community, serving those in greatest need.